Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Audible Farm podcast. My name is Peter Stockdale. I'm your host. This is episode number 22, and this week I sit down with Cody Nielsen. I recall him being in the band Riddled with Class. We mentioned him in the Nick Earhart podcast, and he was also in a band called OrFin for a while, and I found their old Facebook page with a little bit of his help, so I'm going to share that down in the description section. But he's a DJ for Mojo Productions. He plays in a couple church bands. I didn't know he was as involved in that as he is, so it's really cool to actually, get to talk to him about some of that stuff. So I got to learn something new about him. We grew up from the same town, but we didn't converse too much, but we're always cordial with one another. So it was really good to sit down with him and let him hear him tell his story and talk about all that kind of stuff. I had a great time. It's weird that you're going to do this with somebody and you're going to podcast with somebody and sit down and talk with them and have like a little interview and stuff. But it's also neat to hear from somebody that is from your area and they're giving back to the area. And he's been giving back a lot, as much as he can with the music, it seems like. So I'm really glad I got to have him on the podcast. We had a really great conversation. I hope everybody enjoys this as much as I did. This is episode number 22 with Cody Nielsen.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
There it is. All right, sitting down today with Cody Nielsen, and
Hello.
I originally met you, let's see here, you played guitar we're from the same town, so we've known each other for a long time, but you played guitar in Riddled with Class, and I guess at that time, I didn't even know you played guitar, so it was kind of cool to be like, holy crap, there's another guitar player in town, closer to my age and that kind of stuff. So let's start there. Like, what got you started playing guitar, or what was one of the first things, or people or bands, or what made you actually want to pick up an instrument and play? Did you play any other instruments in school?
Yeah, I was actually in the percussion line in school.
Nice.
So played in the band for a while. I didn't practice enough, so I didn't really make it that far in the school band. But
Yeah.
it was still it taught me a little bit. I had 7 years of piano growing up.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mary Getch was my teacher for most of it. But for like 3 or 4 lessons, I had Denise Nave.
Okay.
And those 4 lessons that I had with Denise Nave, I just learned so much.
Yeah.
It kind of jumped way up, and then she got way too busy for lessons for me. But I learned a lot from just those 4, and then right after high school, I started getting into kind of guitar a little bit, and since I already had a little bit of music theory, I was able to kind of step my own way in through learning the guitar. And at that same time, I was a camp counselor for UALU, and they really needed guitar players for their campfires for the kids singing and stuff. And
Yeah. What's the camp?
it's called UALU. It's a Bible camp over in eastern Iowa.
Oh, cool.
So I was a counselor for that
That's awesome.
I think 8 years.
Oh, dang.
For summers. And I was like a part-time counselor at first for 2, and then the rest a full-time counselor over the summer. And the resources there for learning guitar were amazing, because you had 5 or 6 other counselors that just already knew all the basics of guitar and were there to help you in whatever you wanted. But you were pretty much just learning chords and how to play guitar with kids and play along with their singing. And so that was kind of the structure of how I got started playing guitar.
That's awesome. One of the first places I ever started playing guitar was actually in the church band here in town at Oak Hill, the Baptist church that's in Humboldt. And they just had a youth group, and everybody kind of just came and sang songs and stuff like that, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. And then it was well, we need a bigger band, not just one guy. So they brought in some guy that played drums. Jake Short played drums in the church band, and
Sweet.
And Tom Hanrahan played the bass, and I played the guitar. And Steve Bice was there. He was playing the guitar there too. There was a bunch of people, and we'd occasionally just have people kind of come in and out, and and also join us. And that's, like, it's kind of weird that like I got my first start at like church. That was my first like real go-to at it, and yours was like at a church camp. So we got a little bit of a parallel there. That's kind of
Yeah.
nice. So,
Yeah.
yes, how'd you get lined up doing a gig over there? Like, did you just like want
Uh,
to be a counselor, and then it was by happenstance they wanted guitar players too, or was it?
Well, I went to camp there for quite a few years. My best friend growing up was David Amundsen, and his folks are from that area, so
Oh,
that's
cool.
where they went to camp. So I actually tried like Ingham here, and it wasn't the right feel or whatever. Didn't really want to go back, so I tried it over there, and then just loved it. So I went back just year after year, and then like you got old enough that the next year you're old enough to be a counselor, so why
Yep,
not just be a counselor then? So
exactly.
that's kind of how I got hooked up with that.
That's pretty awesome, actually. Like, just kind of those little, like, I mean, it might just not be that big a deal to you because it's your life, but like someone like me, it's like, man, that sounds like a pretty great opportunity. Like go farther away from where you're originally at, and then you get to go try something new, like playing the guitar in front of a whole bunch of people, and it's kind of a nice soft environment where you're not going to get too many people heckling you for
Yeah.
playing guitar.
Definitely not gonna get booed off stage there.
Yeah, man. And I mean, it's not like getting booed off stage literally actually happens,
No.
but I have been places and have been booed. It's one of the first shows I ever played was actually for it was like homecoming coronation or pre-prom or something here at the high school.
Okay.
And I think I've told the story before on the podcast, but you could hear people laughing in the video louder than you could hear us playing. And that was like one of those things where it was
Oh,
like, oh,
damn.
yeah, I was like, all right, well, that's motivation not to suck anymore. So that was how, I mean, and who's going to blame them? It was like the first time all of us had ever tried playing a song together. So, but yeah, that was totally a thing. So it's kind of nice you got that nice little soft intro. And maybe that's why I took to going to church and playing church stuff too, because it's like, well, no one's going to make fun of you at a church.
No, for a little different perspective for that show anyway. I was at that show
Yeah.
because I was younger than you, high schooler wise, and like I thought it was the coolest thing ever that you guys got a group together and could actually play music up on stage and stuff and just like jam out, even though like some of the other people didn't think it was so cool, but
Yeah, we had some pretty big shoes to fill. I mean, there was a band, like when we were young, there was a band that was like full of upperclassmen. They were called the Broken Frontmen. And it was like Brian Gorman and,
oh yeah.
I think Josh Rupty maybe. I can't remember everybody that was in it. But Andy Erickson maybe. Yeah, there's a handful of dudes in that band, and they were all from like the high school in the area, and they were pretty solid for being high school guys. So it was one of those deals where it was like the first year the Broken Frontman wasn't around, and then they bring in active input, and it was a little bit of a struggle, but we pulled through, and we actually ended up playing a lot of shows like at the school for random events and things like that, and that was tons of fun. Like, I don't regret playing guitar in high school, regardless of whether or not I got laughed at by people.
I know all those guys. I mean, I've never seen them play,
Yeah.
but they were the oldest scouts when I was in scouts, and they like took me under their wing. And Brian Gorman, he was like an older brother for a little while.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, Brian's a great guy, man. I actually got to hang out with him about a month or so ago. I ran sound for the band that he's in now called Last in Line. They play cover songs from like 80s hair metal and stuff like that.
Really?
Pretty stellar. It's got
I did not know he
Clint
was still
Clint
playing.
Blumker plays the drums.
Okay.
Clint's brother Chad plays the guitar, and then Brian plays guitar and sings. And they have a bass player that I met one time, and I'm sorry I forgot his name. If he's listening, sorry, but that's the bad part about giving the call outs and naming names of people.
That's why I made a list before I came.
Yeah, I've done the list thing before, but it's so
Yeah.
funny because sometimes you get off topic and you're like, oh, let's talk about
Oh,
these
yeah.
guys, and then you're like, I forget some of them. So,
Oh.
but yeah, I think they wanted to call themselves something like Van Blumker for a while, which would have been like the coolest name ever because they're really good. It's one of those deals where you go to show up and watch people play 80s hair metal, and it's like, this is either going to be great or it's going to be a struggle bus. And dude, they were rocking it. Like, it's not that I should be that blown away because Chad's a really good guitar player, and I know how good Clint is. I've played in bands with him for a while now, but dude, it was a good show. I had a great time. Brian can still sing. Like,
Sweet.
yeah, that was always one of those things. He was always such a good singer growing up, and that's something that I guess shouldn't be taken lightly.
No,
because
no.
I'm not too good of a singer. What about you?
I can sing a little.
Did
I
you
can
sing
a-
chorus in school at all, or?
No, not until after like high school. I joined up with the Humboldt Community Chorus, and that's where I started really growing and learning how to sing with that. So,
Cool. I didn't know you were in that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome, dude.
Yep, I'm the youngest male member, so I can hold that
you
proud. But
Still involved?
oh yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, we just put on a show here at the beginning of February, and
Well, heck.
it was a hell of a show.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I did not know you were doing that. That's so
Mhm.
cool. Oh man. So
The practice that goes into that is just insane. And,
I bet.
but the end product is worth talking about. I think
How many people are in that?
66, I think, somewhere
Jeez.
around there.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
As they all come from around this area, or is it
Most of them, some of them drive from quite a ways away. Todd Treganza is still in it, and he drives up from Boone
nice?
every week to practice. And
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah, that's a drive. And then there's some that come from Algona and some from Pocahontas and just from all over the place.
That's cool, man. I'm not as involved in like the community music scene like that as I could be, but it's awesome having that kind of stuff around, and it's, not to say I wouldn't ever go to one, but I'm so busy that I have to pick and choose what I go to now.
Of
And now
course.
that I actually want to kind of go to all this stuff, I don't have the time to, and go figure. But
No, it's definitely blessed with a lot of amazing singers in that group.
yeah, they've got a community chorus in town, and they've also got, what's the community band thing they've got going on? I forget what it's
The
called.
Humboldt Big Band.
That is awesome too.
Mhm.
I walked in on one of their practices like 10, 11 years ago, and I know it's been a while, but like I was just like, holy crap, this is a bunch of adults that are just wailing on their instruments here. And I mean, my only experience was coming from like a high school band perspective, so it's like you get some people that still honk on their instruments, and not everybody wants to practice, but those people all take it seriously, and they're good.
They're all stars.
Yeah.
The amount of work that they put in is just through the roof. And now that they got Jeremy Ober in there, he's kind of, I think, their newest member in guitar. So that's kind of cool. I've always really looked up to him and his sound, and I don't even think I can name them all, but yeah, everybody in that group is just knows their instrument so well.
Yeah, Jeremy's name's one that comes up about every other week on this podcast. It
I
seems
bet
like.
so.
I mean, he's
been kind of an influence around this area forever.
Yeah, I mean, he should be looked up to, if not for talent, definitely for work ethic. I mean, like he's one of the best in both categories. Like around the multi-county area, he's always playing shows. He's got the jam night. He's community involved. He's doing a lot of stuff, and he's definitely someone to go check out if you want to go see. What's he got? A Lone Tree Revival show coming up soon.
Yeah, that's gonna be at Rustics.
Yeah, it's at Rustics. What do they call it? Gordy's now. Gordy's at Rustics or whatever. Whatever. It's one of the places next door.
Raising money for the theater.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I got internet connection. I could look that up. I'll look that up now. But you started playing guitar at church camp, and then from there, where did you go?
Well, the next step, I kind of joined the community chorus, and then I started writing music right after that, because I don't know, I've always kind of thought rock music was fun, and then I formed the band called OrFin. Shortly after that, and I'm actually wearing an OrFin T-shirt.
I remember that, actually. Now that you mentioned that,
yeah, we played at the Rockin' Picnic one year.
Yeah, you did,
and that was our biggest venue.
Yeah,
but, there was a bunch of littler venues along the way, like the Eagles Club in Fort Dodge was always nice to host us.
I love that place.
Our sound had a little bit of punk rock in it, a little bit of just old time rock and roll, a little bit of everything. We set out to be an original band. We got quite a bit of covers, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and then it was a lot of fun. Caleb Johnson was the drummer for that.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I don't think he does much drumming anymore, but he's still singing in the community chorus and
Yeah.
stuff. He was always a drummer that wanted to be a singer.
Yeah.
And he was an amazing drummer, so I'm glad that we had him in that band. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. I did actually look up that Lone Tree Revival show. It's on the 16th, which is Saturday. This is going to come out on Thursday, so it would be February 16th. That's Gordy's at Rustics in Humboldt. Starts at 7. Just reading that off of the Facebook page, and I'm totally going to go to that show. Like, if not the entire show, I am going to make an appearance for sure because I want to see those guys play. We're talking Jeremy Ober's in the band, Dan Cassidy, Tim Miller. There's a handful of other people, but it's going to be horns and strings and an amazing time.
Minicus, I think, is in there too.
Yeah, man. I mean, we could just
We don't have to name them all.
We could
but
go
yeah.
through and dig through online for the ones that I am forgetting right now. But at any rate, so you started OrFin and you played a lot of your own stuff, and I barely remember that happening, but I remember it now. Like, now that you say it, it's just like, oh yeah,
There's a little local band that's just kind of doing little stuff.
yeah, man. And time flies by so fast. How long ago was that?
That was like 8-9 years ago.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Like, it's so wild to think that was that long ago. And I mean, kudos to you. You would have been like fresh out of high school when all that was happening.
Yep.
So kudos to you for trying to make, your own music and playing music that young. Because when I was that old, I was too scared to. Whether or not I was good enough to, I didn't care. I was just like, I don't want to get made fun of, on a grander scale, like go out to the Rockin' Picnic and have 200, 300, 400 people looking at you. And it's not something you want to mess up, man. And
No, I've always had way more confidence than I have talent. So
That's
sometimes that shows.
That's not a bad thing, though. Like, 'cause it's just like I just said, man. Like, it's if you have the opposite end of it, you just don't do anything for a long time. And I took like 9 years off, 10 years off, didn't even pick up a guitar almost, So that's the way that ends up going. I mean, kudos, because that's a tough deal. Who else was in OrFin with you?
Well, we had another guitarist for a while. His name was Mason Rowe, and hopefully he kind of gets back into it. Or I'm not sure if he's playing now or not, or anything like that. He kind of left the band a little bit halfway through, like when we were going through our cycle, and that was kind of the big moment of when it started downfalling after that. But after that, we got a bass guitarist named Alex Ingman.
Oh yeah.
So he was in it for a little while, and that was kind of fun to have him in there. He's always been really chill, so it was kind of easy to have him fit in there, and just kind of he just said okay to whatever we were doing, and that's
dude.
It was chill. But before that, I kind of wanted to tell you this story. When I first started, I just had Caleb and me, and he was like, "We need a bigger sound. We need a bass guitarist." And he had brothers that played bass guitar. He had Michael and Micah and Josh, and they both wanted to be in it, and they both played bass. So our first show as OrFin, we had 2 bass guitarists, 1 lead rhythm guitarist, and a drummer. And I gotta tell you, that was a pretty fat sound up there.
Dude.
Everybody was kind of looking at us because we were like the opening band of some other bands coming up, and they're like, "You got two bass? Oh, okay."
Yeah, rock and roll, man. I mean, it has been done before, but it is kind of a weird thing to have 2 bassists. I mean, it's not unheard of. There have been bands that have pulled it off and done it well. But man, that's crazy.
Fun.
Like, it would have, like you said, it would have been a fat sound coming out at everybody.
Yep, it was quite a fat sound, and I don't know, it was an interesting stepping stone. I'm glad that we got Mason shortly after that. He was a huge Nirvana fan, just that sound, and he just emulated it perfectly. He was just, I don't know, there's so much angst, and he had a whole bunch of his original music that he brought along with him that we played through, and it was a good time. It was a big learning experience, I gotta say.
Yeah, man. First bands usually are. I mean, it's where you realize where you're making the most mistakes and the things you need to work on, filling in all those holes that you didn't even know you had. I mean, that's like the toughest part about like putting yourself out there in front of a bunch of people. And I mean, you're almost always better off for it having done it. In one way or another.
The hardest part about that band was finding places to practice.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you're sitting down in my basement with me, which seems like a good practice place, but if you get 3 or 4 people down here making noise, we're going to shake the walls in this building. It's not, and I cohabitate with others, let's just put it that way, and they aren't going to appreciate the noise as much.
I bet not.
Yeah, so I try to keep it down as much as possible, which it's kind of weird because there's a drum set sitting over there, and I play that very sparingly just to try to be kind to everyone around. But yeah, I mean, finding a place to practice is usually like the biggest killer for a band too, especially if like one guy leaves and he was the place where everybody practiced.
Yeah.
Sometimes that'll kill a band. I mean, it's been known to happen here and there. I know when I was doing the stockyard stuff, we had to shuffle around a handful of times before we finally found a place to practice. And, you know, thankfully we had a place to practice. Otherwise, I don't know if we would have been able to pull it off. Everybody would have been down here in my basement making noise, and it would have been would have had some unhappy people in the house. So, but yeah, I mean,
it's always a tough sell.
Yeah. Who else you got in the band? Was that the whole band?
That was it. It was kind of a rotating door kind of thing with people coming and going and filling in different spots. But then after that last Rockin' Picnic, that band kind of broke up and just became part of the past, you know. And I've always kind of wanted to get that one back together.
Dude,
But
you had to have played on one of the very first Rockin' Picnics, like second, third.
I think that was the second one.
Yeah, man, because we're talking, what, 8 years ago, you said? 8, 9 years ago? Because I think they did 10 was the last year, was the 10th one.
Yeah.
So, and, I mean, I've been lucky enough to play on a couple, which I will never, ever take that lightly. Like, that's one of my favorite shows I've ever done. It seems so high pressure because of how professional everyone treats it, and it's just a great atmosphere to play at, that Rockin' Picnic in Humboldt. I've talked about it multiple times on the podcast because it's so much fun to go to.
And you get out of Humboldt and no one's heard of it.
Yeah, and it's so wild. I don't know how people have never heard of it when it's such a big deal in town.
Yeah, people go nuts.
Yeah, man. So what happened after OrFin? What do we got after that kind of shakes down?
The next one was a pretty interesting one. I actually took some lessons from a guy here in town. His name's Corey Meyer.
Yep.
You ever heard of him?
Yep.
He's a pretty good guitarist.
Oh, yeah.
And so he actually... before that, I was just playing chords and stuff and just messing around and kind of emulate. I didn't know anything about like the pentatonic scale or anything about scales or anything like that.
Yep.
I would follow tabs, just learn the tabs. So I took some lessons from Corey. Only a few, only until I broke my leg. But he taught me all those different scales and how to put them together, and it really brought my game up for putting a solo together. And
yeah, dude.
It just, like, after that, the tabs made more sense.
Bingo.
Like how everything fit together.
You can see all the patterns that everybody's starting to build off of. And that's the craziest thing about scales is once you've got the basic chord knowledge and you've played enough, as when somebody shows you a scale and tells you how it works, it's just like, oh man, you just unlocked so much. Like from all this, I can figure out how this goes, and like this dude's using this, and they're all just in a minor this scale, and I could figure that out based on the minor pentatonic scale that the guy showed me. And I mean, and Corey, he's darn good, man. He's more of a basement rocker, I would call him. You know, I haven't seen him in bands too much, but yeah, I mean, I've heard him play, and
I think his band days are kind of over. Maybe they'll get back into it or something like that. But yeah, he's like a basement rocker.
Dude,
he plays in his house all the time.
And he's good. Yeah. That's the other thing. I'm like, I know I was kind of in that category. I don't know if I want to say I'm that good, but I was just a guy that just played in his basement, didn't have any bands around. It's tough to find enough people you can stand next to and get along with for long periods of time.
True story.
It's not impossible, and but most musicians are kind of antisocial people. So
yeah. And Corey is a guy that if you're like wanting to know anything about any certain kind of equipment, I bet he's owned it at one point in time because he just goes through equipment like crazy. But he knows the stuff about equipment and pedals, and it gets deep.
Yeah, that was always one of my favorite things. I used to go hang out at a buddy's place, and he would show up every now and then, just like I'd see him like once every couple of months, and we'd just like sit next to each other and talk about guitars, and he'd always try and sell me one, because he's always, like you said, he's always
going through equipment.
Yeah, he's just always got a different guitar. Hey, you want to try this one out? I'll let you bring it home and try it, and that's pretty much just like, no, because if it comes home with me, I'm gonna buy it, so...
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's a fun guy to sit down and talk to. I guess I didn't know you took some lessons from him, but he's one of those guys I I bet he pushed you in the right path for sure.
Yeah, well, I was bringing that up for my next point because my next band that I was in is called Red Carpet Rebels.
Oh yeah.
And how I got in that group is I was standing on Main Street, Algona, and I overheard this guy like next to me or something like that talking about how he was writing something about songs or something like that. And I just walked up to him and said, "Hey, I've written some songs." Like, but the guy next to him ended up being Jeff Wolf, and he was
Okay.
kind of putting a band together.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar. I don't know where I know that name from, but keep going.
He owned the Afterlife.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. All right. All right.
That's how everybody knew him. But yeah, he was definitely big. So he was the drummer for Red Carpet Rebels, and Steve Williams was the bass guitarist, and then Corey Meyer joined as another guitarist a little bit later on.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
hmm
Dude, that's awesome.
So he was jamming along with it, and we had a lot of fun with that.
Dude, I bet. I never even heard of that band.
It wasn't around all that long. I mean, I think 2 years is all we were really together jamming or something like that.
Did you
But
play most of your shows up in Algona, or?
yeah, we played a lot of them there. We ventured out a little bit, but most of them were right there at the Afterlife.
Yeah, man. And that place is another place that, like, they get so many bands and so much going on there, and I feel like that place should just be packed wall to wall for how awesome it is. It's kind of like a diamond in the rough because and the next venue to go play is in Humboldt, I guess, but it's just a bar where the Afterlife, which I don't know what they call it, Lifers now or whatever. It's such a huge place with a nice stage and like the great atmosphere, and I always figured that place would just have tons of bands coming through all the time, and the place would just be packed wall to wall, and it's never as packed as I imagine it being. You know, when I show up there, it's like this
Yeah.
place could fit 200. Yeah, there's 100 in here, but why isn't there 200? You know,
Right.
but that place is awesome. I love that place, and I don't think I've ever played a show up there, man. I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of shows there. I've been there and partied back when I used to party,
Yep.
and I've never played a show there. So that's pretty awesome that you actually have.
Yeah. No, I played a lot of shows there. I opened up. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the lead singer from Smile Empty Soul.
Oh
I opened up for that. and
Yeah,
that
man.
that was pretty cool because that was something I was listening to when I was in high school. and I was like,
Exactly.
I opened up for that guy.
Yeah,
So-
dude, that's cool stuff, man. One of my friends used to go up there, Dan Blair. I mean, I did a podcast with him, and I remember going
Mhm.
up there during a jam night that was up there, and I saw you up there, and you got up and played a couple songs, and I played the cajon for most of the night, I guess.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
yeah,
remember
I
that.
do remember seeing you up there a few times at shows, and I did see you play the acoustic there. I want to say one of those nights
Yep.
that I was there. So, I mean, I have seen you play, so
It
it's not like I'm completely ignorant to what you've got going on. But I didn't know that you were in was it Red Carpet Rebels?
Yeah, Red Carpet Rebels.
There
that
you
was
go.
that was part of that little history there, and it was another kind of stepping stone. And then after that one, kind of fizzled out. Like, don't you hate it when you don't really know if a band's still together or not for a little bit, and you're kind of like, it could be, it couldn't be,
Yeah.
and you're kind of hearing back, and somebody's busy, and then it's kind of, I don't know, I call that more like fizzling out than breaking up, because
Yeah.
there's not like a real point where everybody's just so pissed at each other that they're like, we're never going to see each other again, or anything like that. It's,
Yeah. It's always tough when like that comes down to a band because it seems like either everything blows up and everybody hates each other, or it just kind of everybody just gets tired of talking to each other and goes
Yeah.
separate ways for a while.
Yeah. And then after that is when Riddled with Class picked me up.
Awesome, yeah. And that was a band from Humboldt that I
Nick
mean,
Gerhardt,
yeah, dude,
Danza.
they were super popular in this town, and they're still around.
Yeah.
With man, they've had a lot of lineup changes since the very beginning. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
let's take me through when did you join into the band?
I joined in right when it first started becoming like Riddled with Class.
Yeah,
And I think I was with him. I don't know, maybe my time scale's off or something like that. But it seemed like it was kind of a 3-year span, something like that.
yeah.
And Stubbs was in it, and Jed Rostetter was in it, and Scotty was in it at the time.
Oh yeah, Justin Rasmussen.
Yep.
Yep.
So
And Stubbs would be Matt Stubbs.
yeah,
Yep, Matt was the Stubbs that was in that band. Matt played drums, and JR played guitar, and you played guitar then, I'm assuming, in that
yep,
band too. And Nick Earhart, of course.
rocking the bass.
Yep, he's, I guess you could almost call him like one of the founding members, the last guy standing in the band as of the original lineup.
That's true.
Because, I mean, you played for 3 years, and I feel like it was just kind of like one person would drop off, and then they'd pick up a new person, and then you'd go like another year, and like one person would drop off, and you'd pick up a new person, and it just kind of slowly kept doing that after a couple of years until now where they're at now, I guess.
Yeah.
You guys played a lot of shows with Riddled with Class. I remember seeing you play with them a handful of times.
Yeah, no, we definitely stayed busy with Riddle the Class. I mean,
Yeah, dude.
that's what you get when you're an all cover band.
Yeah.
You stay busy, but you're not putting any of your own music out there or anything like that. You just stay like, and then it started to be every weekend we were booked, and
Yep.
I had family stuff going on this day, and I was like, well, I can't really do it that day. So then it became a little bit more of a chore, and then I kind of had to decide eventually what if I was going to be more with my family or more with the band, and I kind of leaned more with my family.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
there's nothing wrong with that. It's tough to find exactly what the balance is because, I mean, as of late, even I'm having a little bit of an issue trying to find my balance for managing my own time, I guess you could call it, because I have a lot of priorities. I'm doing the podcast and a couple bands, and I'm like interning right now, and I'm going to school full time, and
wow.
I mean, it's a lot of things. I got guitar lessons one day a week. I squished everyone down to one day so it would help me out a little bit. So I mean, I do have a full plate, and I do understand where you're coming from, where you got to make choices, and it's not easy to make difficult decisions one way or the other. That's for
No.
sure.
But yeah, no, they've definitely made some good progress since then, and I'm really happy for them.
What, like, when you joined the band, what kind of songs were you guys going for?
We were just going 90s, kind of 90s rock
Yep.
covers of those. We've seen enough of those bands out there that covered the 70s, covered the classic rock. We've
Yep.
seen all that. We've seen different things, but there was no kind of a 90s cover band out there, so we just kind of focused on that area, and like
Yeah.
that was something that we've all heard before. I mean, a lot of the songs that I wasn't into because I was a little younger when they were
Yeah.
learning their kind of music, but yeah, you know, I picked it up pretty quick, and I was like, yeah, I can definitely understand this. I mean, so we went through, and that's what we focused on.
Yeah, and like when you guys started doing that, you were probably the only '90s rock band, like cover band, like north of Des Moines, like west of Sioux City, and like east of Dubuque. Like you were the
Right.
only one that was around here doing that. So that's like one of the reasons you guys got to stay busy, and you did it at a focal point when a lot of those guys were turning 30-ish years old, and the way that happens is like, well, you're 30 and now you have enough money to go to the bar if you want to.
Yeah.
And those are the people that are going to show up on Saturday nights and pay the money to watch the music that they want, they grew up with and stuff like that. So you guys, I feel like you made the right choice doing the 90s band thing.
Yep.
You picked hella songs that like everybody knew. I mean, I knew 90% of what you were playing. I mean, you and I are pretty close to the same age group, and I would have been pretty young when a lot of these things came out, but like, who doesn't know the song Cumbersome? I mean,
Right.
just stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to play the song, but it's it is what it is though. Like cover bands, you're going to end up playing a song you don't want to here and there.
Here and there, yeah. And it was always cool to see like a guy out of the audience that like wasn't expecting what we were gonna put down, like just sees a band set up and just expects another like to cover classic rock songs or something like that, and like we start playing songs that are from his time period, and
Yeah.
his face just lights up and he runs like that. That was always a cool kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up, man, cuz that's like why I do what I do, is just to make somebody, just to see the smile on somebody's face and watch them enjoy
Yeah.
what you're putting out there for them. It's man, it's a special something when you can put that smile on somebody's face, and that's literally like all music's really about. And
Right.
I mean, you've been playing at this point in time for like what, 10 years now? It would have been
Yep.
up through Riddled with Class, so you've probably seen that here and there anyways, but
Yep.
but like we said, when you're playing those '90s songs, and those are the people that are packing the bars on Saturday nights and Friday nights, it's probably gets pretty wild sometimes. You
Yeah.
know, like how big was the biggest show you played with Riddled with Class? Because I know that like I saw you in town in Humboldt one time, and it's like the bar was just wall to wall packed. You know.
Yeah, I don't have any numbers at
Yeah.
all, like of the biggest show, or the biggest show was probably that we played was Rockin' Picnic with that band.
Oh,
Just
so you
because,
played Riddled with Class, Rockin' Picnic too.
yeah,
So you
yep.
played a couple different bands, Rockin'
Oh,
Picnic.
Yep,
That's awesome, dude.
yep. I've been there a few times too.
That's sweet.
But yeah, no, it's been fun along the way. Now I'm just in 2 different church bands.
Dude, church
So-
band's the way to go. I don't
Yeah.
I don't mind the church band thing one bit. You know,
Yeah.
that's how I cut my chops. A lot of my guitar students, I push them that way if I can, because it's a nice environment, an easy environment to get involved in.
Definitely. And
Where do you play for church bands?
Our Saviors, the first is where I've been playing for just years upon years. I think we counted up, and it's been 8 years back. So that's where I've been spending Sundays. So we would load up everything on Saturday, and then I'd wake up on Sunday and go play on stage again.
Yep.
So if you're ever listening to the radio in the morning, you'll hear us on the radio.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's 97.7 still plays that one.
Yep.
Yep. So
Sunday
anybody
mornings.
in the north central Iowa area can probably pick that one up, because 97.7. I mean, hell, in Humboldt you can turn your radio off and 97.7 still comes through the friggin' speakers. I mean, that's how powerful that is, man.
Yep.
You turn your dial to 105.9 and 97.7 comes through.
Yeah,
like
it's all you get.
yeah, it's all you get around here.
But that's always kind of neat to run into different people around town that's like, I heard you on the radio this morning. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
man.
that is awesome.
Yeah. It's also kind of fun doing like that. It almost feels like a civic duty to go out there and play the guitar for people at a church in that kind of environment. I don't know why I always really enjoyed it for that. It just felt kind of like you're giving back, even though it's really like, it's not really like quote unquote work to you. You know, it's just something you enjoy. Otherwise, I'm sure you wouldn't be doing it. But it's so nice to actually go out there and do something for the community. I mean, even at a church level, because it's only going to involve a handful of people in the community, depending on the church. But it's tons of fun, man.
There is a little bit of parts of it that feel like work, like the picking of the music and making sure everybody knows the music, and like knowing the music is what the pastor kind of wants, and fitting that in with their message and going back and forth with that.
Yeah, man.
That's where it kind of becomes work a little bit. And then when you're introducing a new song and you don't really have a whole lot of time to get the whole group together to learn the new song for that next week, and then it's real rough on Sunday because that's when it gets rough. But other than that, yeah, it's just been a lot of fun.
How many people are in that church band?
We've got Bob Johnson for one.
What? That's sick, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then Rich Lenz plays the drums for it.
Nice.
Mhm.
Oh, Rich Lenz is a really good drummer.
Yeah, no, he's been amazing to have. If you knew Sam Lenz at
Yep,
all.
yep.
So yeah.
I actually, when I used to work at Hy-Vee in Humboldt, every now and then Rich would walk through and someone's just like, you know, that guy plays the drums. And it's like somebody would always just come up to me and be like, hey, that guy plays the drums. Like every time he'd walk by. So I know who he is. And
Yeah.
it's I don't know if we ever talked, but it's just like, oh, I know that guy. He plays drums. It's Rich, you know. So
He's got some amazing stories of when he used to travel around as a drummer.
so I've heard. I might not mind having him on here if he wants to talk, but
I'll ask him about it.
yeah, definitely, man. Who else is in the band with you?
Chrissy Matthews is a singer, and she's been in it ever since I've been in it. So
All
she's
right.
been in it forever, along as well as me. But Eric Amundsen, he's been in it a really long time too as a singer. And then Kate Smith, we just picked her up as a singer.
The Amundsen, is that the brother of the other Amundsen that you used to hang out with?
That's actually the dad.
The dad?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yep. So it's Scott and David's dad and Peter. So yep, he is. He's a little bit older, but he can sing pretty good.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. Like every single one of those guys is like intelligent with a nice, interesting skill set. Like
Yeah.
every one of the Amundsens, it's so awesome.
It blows my mind sometimes, and they're just out there like doing amazing things right now, probably.
Yeah, and like you ask them about it, they're just kind of like, yeah, I'm doing stuff, and it's like to them it's just another day. It's so cool. So
Yep.
what is you got a guitar, drum, bass?
Yeah, Bob plays bass.
Okay, so Bob plays bass in that because I know Bob plays 400 instruments. You
Yeah,
know, he's
yeah, he just stacks them on top
yeah,
of each other.
he just plays them all at once. He's playing the fiddle with his feet. You know, just kicking butt.
Yeah.
Uh, Piano at all in your band there or no?
We've always kind of wanted one. We had one for a little bit, but then it didn't work out very well. So it's we don't have a piano right now. So it's just I play an acoustic guitar up there. Bob plays a bass, and we got drums, and we got the rest of them are singers.
Awesome, man. That's really cool.
So it's a little bit new agey kind of sound. It's a lot of those real popular bands that are coming out with new music and stuff.
Yep.
That's the sound that they're kind of putting out right now. It's
Yep.
just like the simple guitar sound and things like that. And
Uh-huh.
that's kind of what we're going after, and it seems to work out. People always have pretty good reactions to what we're putting out there. Either that or they're just so desperate to have some youth in the church that they just tell us all good things. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I mean, having a good not to turn this into church talk, but yeah, having a good youth group at a church makes all the difference because
Yeah.
it. I'll tell you what, when I was going to church a lot when I was younger, playing at Oak Hill at the Baptist church here in town, that place was packed on Thursday nights with kids that would come in there just to hear us play music, get a little message, and just hang out with friends. Because, believe it or not, sometimes kids just want to hang out, and even if it is at a church, they'll go there and they'll appease the masses and be a little bit PC and enjoy the time with everybody. It's having the youth around at a church is definitely killer, especially in this town is not getting any younger, and a lot of the younger people are getting jobs and leaving. I mean, I'm sure it's that way in all small towns around Iowa because it's just the way it goes.
Seems like it's been that way around here ever since I was young. So
yeah, man. But
some of us has never left.
yeah, I mean, I've never actually officially left. I'm not here all the time, but yeah, I don't necessarily I foresee myself leaving eventually, but I don't. Even then, it's still just we'll see what happens. You know.
Yeah. I tried to move away once, and I just couldn't find a job out there. So I came back here, and I found a job pretty quick, and that's
Yeah.
found my life here again.
And there's nothing that bad about small towns.
No.
Everybody wants to down on the small town all the time. It's oh, everybody there is just a bigot, or everybody there just blah blah. And it's dude, we all care about each other here so much, and we have the ability to push opinions aside that everybody has of one another.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the internet I think has ruined a lot of people from a lot of that stuff. But it's nice to know that you live in a small town and everybody kind of knows each other and kind of cares about each other. It's we're all in it together here in this town.
And it's a lot easier to hear that one guy in the town that's making a big deal about whatever, and to kind of label that whole town after that one guy. And that's not how it is.
No, man.
Everybody in the town is not paying attention to that one guy.
No, man. It's and I like living in this small town. I like you said, I don't know if I'll move away, and if I do, maybe I'll come back. Who knows? But as of right now, it just sounds like you've you got another. You said you had another church band?
Yep.
Okay, so let's hear about that church band before we.
It's called Ecclesiastes. And
all right.
They do have a lot of their own original music kind of thing, so they're not only just a cover band or something.
All right.
Lenny Darling and this church band plays over in Badger.
Oh, cool.
So it's the Badger Lutheran Church.
Oh,
and,
nice.
They play there once a month, and it was kind of a Lutheran exchange program because that's the actual church that Rich goes to.
Okay, so Rich goes to Badger, is what you're saying.
So Rich plays in Our Saviors for me to play over in Badger because they did more instruments over there too, and we needed a drummer over here, so he comes plays with us.
Then
I
you-
go play
you
with
play with
them,
them.
and it seems to work out pretty well.
So the Ecclesiastes you said was once a month.
Yep.
Do they run at the same time, or do you have to just take off one week a month at Our Saviors in order to do it over in Badger?
That's true.
That's how you do it. You just
Yep.
take a week off and go over there and do it.
1 week a month we go over there and play over in Badger, and
That's awesome.
they definitely have a different sound. They since they're writing their own music, and Lenny's been in a lot of different blues bands along the way, and that's definitely giving it a little bit different sound. And then there's Jack. I actually don't know his last name as the bass guitarist. And then Rich is the drummer. So they've got two guitars, a bass, and a drummer in that one. And then pretty much two constant singers out
All
front.
right, well, that's cool. I do like the multi-singer thing going on. I don't. It doesn't have to be a whole chorus of people, but I do enjoy having multiple singers.
Yeah.
Some of that comes from the fact that I can't sing. I mean, like I can hold a tune like okay, but no, I can't sing very well. So like I said,
That just takes time too. Just
yeah,
like out there learning the pitches, and that's pretty much just like practicing an instrument.
yeah, man.
I
I
mean, I do understand that some people, some folks out there, like no matter what they do for trying to sing, they're not gonna get it. But
yeah.
most people, I think that out there that says that they just can't sing and they'll never be able to.
Uh
And
huh.
just got to kind of hone it in a little bit and learn what your voice is capable of doing.
Bingo. So that's what it comes down to. Like one of my big deals was like I did the whole stockyard thing and I had like two great singers in the band and I chose to sing the majority of the time just off the simple fact that like I was the one putting all the work in to get the band together and choosing songs and doing all of it. It would have been way better for me just to be like you guys can sing this cuz I'm putting in all this extra work, but I, I don't know. To sing blues songs isn't as terribly difficult as to sing like gospel music because you have to be pretty close to bang on when you're singing gospel music because you're holding notes for longer. And in blues music, you can just kind of be like, rap, 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 and like, that sounds great, you know? So, um,
Everybody's just focused on the guitar for blues anyway. So.
yeah, man. And that was the other thing. It was just like, I'm in a couple bands and I don't have the time to like sit down and shred out all these solos and sing. So I just let Dan do all the solo shredding, and that's normally he sings more than solos, and he just knocks it out of the park, man. I mean, the last two shows we did together, I let him do most of the legwork on the solos, and he's just been like destroying it as of late. So it's pretty cool to have some other people to lean on, I guess.
Definitely.
Singing though, that's something that like I can sing some songs. I do recall we did a jam night in Bode last month. Me and a kid I actually go to school with showed up there, and we're like, "Oh, you want to play some songs?" And it was like, yeah, like what do you know, kid?" And he's just like, "Well, we could play these songs." And it's like, "All right." So we looked them up on our phone and went up there and played them. Like,
Ah,
yeah,
cool.
Scott gave us like an hour, so we just like sat down and like looked at them on our phone and figured it out. We ended up playing Stranglehold, and that was one that was like, I can sing this, and I know I can. It's not gonna be super great, but we get done singing and playing it, and everyone's just like high fiving me afterwards, like that was awesome, that was so good, way to go. Like, and I'm just like, I don't know if you're being nice or if I did that good of a job, because it's I don't know. I like singing like Nugent songs. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, singing that's a tough deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who were your singers in the band? Let's give them another
Oh
shout
yeah,
out.
definitely. Anna Armstrong is one of them. And she is an amazing singer. I actually ran into her 2 weeks ago. It was at a jam night that I just kind of ran into her. She was out front playing darts,
Oh,
and
cool.
I was in the back. This was at Patty's, Jeremy's jam night.
Yeah, man, I
And
love going to those.
and she was like, I've never sang at a jam night before. So I was like, oh, why don't you just come back and sing? So we ended up doing one of the songs that we do at the church just because that's one of the ones that she knew. And
Uh huh.
I kind of wanted to, I don't know, get her out of her comfort zone kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
so it was a little rough, but, she was so excited about it. Like, that was the amazing part about it. She was just so hyped up about like singing in front of different people and
Exactly.
stuff, and
Yeah.
so that was pretty awesome. And then the other one is Chandra Vincent. So and she takes care of the books
Okay.
amazingly, like all the song books and stuff
Yep.
like that, reorganizing them. And she's a great singer too, but I appreciate her most for doing that.
Oh yeah. It's a,
'Cause-
it's so nice when somebody does the legwork too.
yeah, yeah, that's the legwork you were talking about a
Yeah,
minute
man. That's
ago.
the tough. That's that actual tough stuff that's in a band. Like, oh, we need to organize all this stuff, and everyone's got to have a copy of it. And like, that's the stuff that everybody takes for granted.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, practicing's tough. Yeah, moving gear is tough. Yeah, showing up on time. It's all kind of tough. But like, I mean, bless her soul for doing all like I don't want to say it's the hard work, but for doing the hard work on that because that's no easy feat,
Mm.
to organize things for everybody else. That's like mother hen type stuff, like
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I made songbooks that were a lot like the ones that we had over in Badger for Our Saviors, just to try to get it organized a little bit. And the worst part about making them in the first place is now I've got to try to keep them organized. And
yep.
I just got my songbook that I keep organized, and the rest of them are just falling apart.
Yeah, that's the way it
Like,
happens, man.
yeah, and I'm like, okay. So Kate Smith actually said that she's going to start going through and kind of organizing them and seeing what songs are missing and which ones are just out of order and things like
Yep.
that. So I say good luck.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, just getting a songbook together too, like that's difficult stuff. I mean, it's one thing. You're like me. If you have lyrics and chords, you can do all of that stuff. You can play along or sing along or figure it all out. But as to actually sit down and compile a giant list of songs that you can play and have them all in, like, let's say alphabetical order for easy finding and things like that, and like bringing it with you to a show, like that's not an easy task. I see some people doing it with tablets to make it easier,
Yeah.
which is nice. But then you have to make sure the tablet's charged, and maybe you have to make sure that you got Wi-Fi access or something. So things can still go wrong, which
Yeah, I haven't figured out how they actually can just look up different songs that fast in that tablet, but it seems like when you're playing off the cuff and like, let's play this song, and then somebody's like, oh, let me try to find it in here, and then
yep.
like, so I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely easier if you have all the songs memorized.
Yeah, and I don't know how many songs you're playing, but sometimes that's not possible, man.
No, it's not
No.
possible in these church bands. Like
Yo.
the book is this thick of just paper.
Yeah, for everyone that can't see us
Oh.
because we don't do video, we're talking like 3-4 inches, 5 inches thick of paper, just like it's like a Bible.
Yeah.
It's literally
Yeah.
as thick as a Bible, you know.
And it's just words and chords, and that's what I'm playing with. And the reason we've got to have that many songs though is because we keep putting more fresh ones in because people get used to the ones that we normally
Yep.
do. So we keep trying to keep it fresh, and then to also kind of get along with whatever the pastor is like talking about that week. That becomes, like I was saying before, the challenge.
Yeah. I didn't actually really think about that too much, but that I totally get where you're coming from because like I'm just throwing out a total for instance because like Lutheran Church usually aren't this way, but like say there's like a hellfire and brimstone type thing where they're gonna be like, you might not want to do this kind of stuff and whatever. And then you don't want to get out there with like a super happy song as the next one. You might want to have like a song
True.
about repentance or something like be the next one or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It's I totally get where you're coming from. It's tough. I bet it would be really tough to actually find the right songs to fit the right message every single time.
Yeah. Some of them we just focus on one song that matches the message, and then the rest of them are just songs that we like to play.
Yep.
But so it's it's a little bit pick and choose.
Yeah, like one of the last songs you play has probably got to be a little more upbeat to kind of send the people out the door with a happy
yeah,
feel.
we definitely try to do that.
So yeah, okay, I'm kind of picking up where you're going with this, and like that wouldn't always be easy to do. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of upbeat church songs out there, but like at the same time,
those are the ones we like doing the best. So.
dude, those are so much fun. I had so much fun playing some church songs, and I don't know why, but it's hard not to smile while you're playing some of those songs. And I know it's not rock and roll, and I know it's not heavy metal and stuff, but I liked it, dude. I really had a fun time playing in church, and like I'm glad to hear you're doing it. I didn't even know you were playing in church band. You're in too, traveling around doing it. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, we didn't do it this past year, but in the years prior, we've had 3 different. We call them. Forgot what we were calling, but we actually took over the gazebo in that park that's across the street from the school. And
Okay.
we set up in the gazebo.
Mhm.
We talked to the city, and they were okay with it. And then we had different church bands from like Fort Dodge and the Badger Band, and different church bands from around the area that wanted to show up and just play with us and play through their own set. And we all kind of got to see what everybody else was putting out there. And
Yeah, man.
there was a group of kids from Clarion that it was like their youth group, like you were saying,
Mhm.
but they were writing all their own music and putting that out
Oh, that's
there.
so
And
cool.
they were amazing to watch. Like the drummer was doing a whole bunch of different stuff that was just like out there, and
Yep.
it was it was I'm not sure their name, but things like that you can get organized enough to get people together can really amaze you.
Yeah, man. Like those jam nights that you were talking about going to.
Hmm.
I mean, we mentioned Jeremy Ober earlier, but like
Of
Jeremy
course.
set up the one at Patty's Pub. He's usually doing the one there. It's once a month.
Yep.
He invited me to come up there and play a show with him, and like you said, going out of your comfort zone. Like it was the first jam night that I was actually like obligated to play at because I was one of the house musicians. So
Okay.
if nobody wanted to play guitar, guess who's playing? It's me.
It's Pete.
But if somebody else wants to play, here's my stuff. Get up here, start stomping on pedals, and crank it up to a million, and do whatever you want to do. I don't care. So. But man, it's like you said, you get out there in front of some people you don't normally get to get out in front of. You get to see people play that you don't normally get to see. So you get to, it's kind of humbling and awesome at the same time to see somebody so much better than you play. But it's also like a nice measuring stick. You get to see like, oh, there is still work to be done here. I thought I was actually pretty good. And then you hear some of these other guys get out there and start ripping on stuff, and you're like, holy
And you
crap.
go home and you practice, and you're
Exactly.
like, I need to do what they were doing.
Exactly.
But also with those, it's the networking.
Yeah.
You get to meet other musicians.
Oh
and,
yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
maybe other musicians would need another little part in their song or something
Yeah.
like that when they're recording or
You
something.
never know.
You never know, but it's the networking is what I focus on when I'm there. Meeting other musicians that get up and play a little something, but you've never really seen before, and so you introduce yourself and kind of tell them where you're from, what you do, and yeah.
Yeah, and not every musician has a dedicated band. Some of them are just looking
Mhm.
for certain people to plug in certain stuff on certain songs. I've been to the studio a couple times and heard people's like, oh, this is what I got for a rough track. Just play some leads over top of it, see what you come up with. And, I've never once been chosen by anybody for any of their songs because usually, like some of the better musicians in the area come along and snatch up those parts. But it
Right.
is kind of neat to go out there and actually like get the opportunity to play on some of these things and talk to some of these people and just get the experience of sitting down in a studio with them and hearing what's in their mind and how it comes out,
Right.
playing the music and stuff like that. And I mean, don't sell the older guys up the river. I always said that, especially in this area. Like,
No.
there's so many guys that are 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old and up that are killers at their instruments.
Yeah. They've had more time.
Yeah, dude. That's the one thing I keep telling myself. Like they've had many more years to practice than I have,
Right.
and that's part of it. But kudos to them for actually sticking with it for as long
Right.
as they have. Because I mean, I've taken gaps out of my 20s and didn't even play for one reason or another. But it's just
For learning music, I think it's like 90% of it is just drive.
yeah,
Just
man.
no matter what you're doing with the whole music area, it's just like 90% of it is just drive to get it done.
Yep.
As long as you have that drive there, something's gonna happen.
Yeah, a buddy of mine once said it a little bit differently. He was like, "It's the person who gets bored last is the best." And that's I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but it's like, man, if you get if you're bored of playing music, you're tired, you don't want to do it anymore, you're not going to get any better. And like when I'm doing my lessons, the one thing I always try to make sure is like, are you having fun doing this? Like, what songs do you think you would have fun playing along to? And I always try and make sure the students are having as much fun as possible while I'm still force feeding them music to learn and chords and different little tiny bits of theory and stuff like that, and just trying to get it to stick in people's heads. For example, I was waiting for a student to come up today, and I was playing some Tenacious D because I like to play different songs in between my students' lessons and stuff like that. And the kid comes up, he says, "Oh, you're playing Tenacious D," and I was like, "I'll teach you this song if you don't blast it on 10, like in your household around your parents and stuff, because he's in high school, but it's still like, come on, you don't need to be playing Tenacious D, cranked up to 10." Around your family and stuff. But
considering what else they could be listening to right now in this day and age,
Yeah.
like, Tenacious D is a little not so bad anymore.
yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Man, when we were growing up, though, it was just like you're saying.
Tenacious D
yeah.
was like, oh no.
Yeah, you're saying what? And I mean, I get it as two chunky guys with acoustic guitars, but
Yeah.
But yeah,
I guess they do have one song that I wouldn't play for normally.
I mean,
but
I'm sure there's a couple you could pick
Yeah.
out. But dude, I love just sitting down with people and finding out what they like, and even as far as like going to those jam nights and finding out like other tunes that other people like to play, and not every song gets played the same way twice, like I remember like going to some jam nights and it's just like, hey, I want to play this song, and the other guitarist is like, I don't know what it is. Like, what key is it in? It's in this, and it's like, well, sweet. This song gets a free solo if I play rhythm guitar, and he's just gonna rip the whole thing up from start to finish, and that's, it's not the way I would play it, but it's awesome when somebody's just like, I'm just gonna solo the shit out of this song,
I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, and they just go to town, man. So I did get to go out there and network with people because there's so many bands around the area that are so good, and not, you don't have the time to go see all of them. I don't have the time to go see not everybody has time to go see everybody's band. You know why? Because we're all in bands. We're all doing stuff.
We're all busy. Now I'm not so much in the band scene anymore. Ever since I've been out of riddled with class, I had all this equipment. Right, and that's because I had like all the equipment for actually playing everything, and that's when I started doing a little bit of DJ work on the side.
Yeah, I thought I saw a little bit of that on Facebook.
A little bit here and there, and then eventually, after I was kind of doing that for a little while, Mojo Productions actually picked me up as one of their DJs to kind of
awesome.
Contract me out for different places, and so now I'm just working for them, and it's been really good this past year.
What kind of places? Like weddings and
weddings mostly.
Yeah.
But
what other kind of stuff have you done? I'm sure you've done something else.
Like Christmas parties for different kind of businesses.
Cool, man.
That was kind of interesting, and did different like events for fundraising and
nice.
Those are the kind of things that you really feel like you're giving back to. One of my favorite ones to do every year, they got it over in Manson. Well, actually it's not in Manson, it's over at the golf course by that's Twin Lakes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Twin Lakes Golf Course, and that one's raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Nice. That's cool, man.
And they all go out and golf all day, and then they come in, and I actually do the auction part of it.
Oh, cool. So do you do auctioneer work too?
Last year was the first year I got thrown into it because they didn't really tell me that they needed somebody like that, and apparently their auctioneer didn't show up or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, can you do it? And then afterwards they're like, you did a really good job selling this stuff, and like you should do this more often. So now whenever somebody asks me about it, I'm like, yeah, I could probably do that.
That's awesome.
So
maybe there's another career as an auctioneer, in town or something.
I wouldn't say that I could do it professionally at all, but if you need a DJ and you also want an auctioneer, I think I could do that. There's another event that I'm going to be auctioneering and DJing coming up, and that was for Abby. Shoot, I'm not going to remember her married name. I'll come back to it. But
I'm bad with names, so don't ask. Don't ask me, man.
But my wife's actually putting it together to set it up. McBurney. Abby McBurney.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know who that is.
Yep.
Yeah, we went to school there.
She just got cancer not too long ago.
Oh, no.
She is, we're, my wife's kind of putting a fundraiser together with a few of her friends, and it's going to be end of March sometime down in Fort Dodge at the Rides. But,
okay.
That's gonna be a kind of a fun place. Definitely a good that one of those things that make you feel good for doing.
Yeah, dude.
And I definitely feel bad for her and her husband.
Yeah,
I've always called him just McBurney.
Yep. I mean, that's not something you'd wish on your biggest enemy or anybody.
No.
I mean, that's tough stuff. That's not something that, I mean, like, everybody's kind of had somebody that's went through the whole cancer thing. So I think everybody knows how tough it can be. Could you imagine how tough it would be if it was you, like, going through it? Like,
no.
And I mean, like, obviously, like, the family dynamic would be tough, but like, could you, like, I don't know if I'd be strong enough personally to like just get out of bed every morning and do that. So like, I mean, everybody needs the support, all the support they can, and giving back to that, man. Kudos to you once again for that, because I feel like I forgot that you were doing stuff after Riddled with Class, and I didn't know you were doing church bands. I knew you were doing some DJ stuff, but it seems like most of the stuff you do is very community based, and that's awesome. I mean, we need people like that around here to keep this community going, and hats off to you for being the guy that's doing it. I mean,
It was bred into me from being an Eagle Scout growing up. So
heck yeah, man. I mean, that's another thing that
there's no other way than to like just constantly just be doing stuff for the community and other people, because it just makes everybody happier to be around. You know, it just makes everyone stronger, and
yeah, you're improving the worth of you and everyone around you and everyone you come in contact with. I mean, that's one reason I wanted to start giving guitar lessons. Was it was just like, you know, if I can transfer any of my knowledge to anybody else, or at least instill like a good work ethic into them, or the enjoyment factor of all of this, then I've done my part, you know. And I started doing lessons, and I just went around to all the other shops, found out how much everyone else was charging, and I was like, well, I can charge less than that, you know, like so that way people
save the parents some money.
Exactly, you know, otherwise they'd have to drive out of town and go somewhere else. And I'm not advocating other places, but if families can't leave town and this is their only option is to go 6 blocks over to the place on Main Street where I give guitar lessons, then I'm there, and I'm more than willing to work out deals with people, and like any way I can give back, I'm trying my best to now. And you know, I got somebody to look up to now, because I like doing that. I like doing the church band stuff. I really did, and I'm happy you're doing that, man.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
I feel bad that I haven't made it into that shop as often as that I want to, but so I've only been in there twice since it's been open. But
you know what the unfortunate thing is?
What's that?
It closed.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yep. So I still give lessons upstairs, but it's now a teacher swap.
Oh.
So it's a place now where you can go in and donate supplies for teachers, and teachers can come in there and bring in excess supplies they have and swap them out for new ones, or go buy supplies that they have for lesser cost, because teachers can no longer write off some of their supplies for their classrooms and things like that, which is, you know,
also a good thing.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate that happens. So it's great that we have a place like that in town to do that kind of stuff. And I want to say that is run by the same lady that owns Sisters here in town, the home cooked meals. So you know, shout out to that for another. I mean, this community's got a lot of people willing to help each other.
Definitely.
You know, the music scene's no different. And I'm glad I've known that you've been doing music around the area for 12 years now. It seems, you know, 12 plus years. Out of high school, the entire time you've been doing it at least. So
on and off a little bit, but mostly on. So
yeah, man. And you got anything else you want to mention? What's the next show of any sort that you have coming up? Like, let's say somebody wants to catch you in a church band. Where can they catch you this Sunday?
Oh, this Sunday we're at Badger.
All right, so this Sunday, if you want to check out Cody, he's going to be in Badger. Otherwise, he was going to be at Our Savior's Lutheran Church most of the time in Humboldt. Here
Catch us on the radio for there.
Yeah, 97.7. You can just go somewhere in Humboldt County and turn your dial to anything, and it'll be there. So, anything else you want to mention? You given plenty of shout outs to all the right people. I think you're one of the first people that came in well prepared with a nice list for every band and mentioning everybody.
Didn't want to be persecuted for missing anybody.
Dude, I've forgotten enough names and I've caught enough flack for it. I think it's time for someone else to catch a little flack. I don't know.
Nope. I got them all written down.
It's not going to be you this time. So
I've had a nice ride.
Yeah, man. So yeah, you can check him out with his church bands. Otherwise, you can check him out. Hire him as a DJ and come check out your stuff. Hit up Mojo Productions, and they'll get a hold of Cody, and he can come play your bar mitzvah or whatever you got going on.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll play your backyard.
That would be awesome, actually. Live music is so much fun, and when you can't have live music, you better have a DJ. So you got both of those avenues covered, man. So that's really, really cool.
There's some weddings that I've actually sang at and DJ'd at.
Oh,
that's the same wedding.
That's awesome, dude. Double duty.
Yeah,
do a little double dip on there. That's pretty awesome. So I want to say thanks for coming in doing a podcast with me. We had talked about this a little bit, and this is a great conversation, man. You and I don't talk constantly.
No.
I mean, we keep in sparse contact here and there. We're always friendly with one another, but it's always good to sit down and actually get to talk to somebody about this stuff, because I learned so much about you that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know you were doing the church band things, and you're very involved in the community, so it's great to actually, get your word out there and let you talk to some people about what you're doing and how they can find you and enjoy some of the stuff that you're doing for them. So
Yeah, I just want to say that I've been listening to the podcast, and you're doing some good things there too. Like it's like keeping a record now of stories from around the area and from further away of different musicians that have been around. Like that their stories aren't going to be around forever, but now they are, because they're recorded and they're somewhere. Like
Yep.
Steve Curry's stories about Bob Johnson's father, about him
Yeah.
playing the fiddle and stuff. Like, I
Oh,
just listened to that one today. and
dude,
I
that was funny. He put the fiddle up to his face and it just disappears because of how big his hands were. That was the greatest thing I'd ever. I laughed so hard at that. Oh man, yeah. These stories are fun. I didn't know how this was all going to go down. I didn't know who all I was going to get to interview, who would be interested in doing interviews.
Yeah.
It's neat to actually sit down and like give back to, like around this area, down in the Des Moines area. I mean, there are a couple other podcasts that do things kind of like what I'm doing, but like one of them's in Iowa City. There's one in Des Moines, but it's I don't want to say it's not going anymore, but they don't do as many episodes as they used to. So
Okay.
I kind of have filled in a small void that was here, and like I also took a big homage to Mason out of Fort Dodge. He does the 92.1 Regional Rock Hour on Fridays, but I'm not around here on Fridays a lot of times, so I can't listen to it. So I kind of made my own Regional Rock Hour, I guess. And it's
No, it's definitely neat to hear the music that he puts on there, because you're like, I know those people.
exactly yeah, and it's bands that they're actually it's good, man.
Yeah.
It's people sell local live music short far too often. I think people are finally starting to come back around and
Yeah.
realize that there's a lot of good musicians out
Taking
there.
too long.
Yeah, it's I'm sure it's one of those things you've been around long enough where you're like, how come this wasn't happening 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but you were also out in the front lines fighting for all of us today. So, props for doing all those shows, some of the first rock and picnics. So that way I could come
Right.
in on the 10th one and there'd be 250 people there for me to play at 2 p.m. already, like that's the kind of stuff that like people like me who are playing the shows now, I have to thank people like you that were playing the shows like that back then when they
Oh,
had
we were
some of
just-
their
we
first
were just
shows.
happy to be invited.
Yeah.
We're ecstatic about it.
Oh man, well you're doing the community a due service. I'm gonna shake your hand real quick just to
Thanks.
say thanks for doing the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Check out his church bands on Sundays, and check out his Mojo Productions DJ work that he does. Hit him up if you want to hire him. Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, Pete.
Yep. There's another one in the bank for you, ladies and gentlemen. I had a great time talking with Cody. We sat down and we've been cordial with one another many times, but we've never actually sat down and talked about all the things he does. Like I said, I didn't know he was doing so much stuff with church bands and stuff, and that's really cool. Getting a bunch of different church bands from the areas together and playing. And I grew up playing in a church band. I really enjoyed it. I cut my chops there, man. That's where I learned to do the basics and a little bit more. So shout out to all the people out there grinding away in church bands. If you're a beginning guitarist and you go to church, that'd be a great place to start. Most churches would be more than willing to have anybody there that's musically talented and willing to share their talents with somebody in the community. And I'm glad that Cody's doing that. So hats off to Cody for doing that. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the podcast. I had a great time, and this is already the end. It was a long conversation, and we made it this far. And you didn't even know how far did we get into it? An hour plus? We're over an hour, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. I'll catch you guys next week. Thanks.